Loud. Hello, everybody in TV land. It's Laura Ward, and we're here in role play. And so, something that I've been really taking in and taking on right now is how important our self-talk is, and how important self-compassion is, and how toxic we can be to our own selves and to our own cells. Our cells, our extracellular matrix, the stuff inside of us knows how we feel about it. So, I'm just going to spend a lot of time, I think, in the next month devoting it to healing our relationship with ourself. And in healing our relationship with ourself, healing our relationship with ourselves. Um, I've been in this vibrational healing summit, which has been amazing. And one of the guys from the Heart Math Institute, McCraigie is his name, was talking about what are you putting into the field? What is your emotion that you're putting into the field? Because whatever we're doing, however we're feeling about ourselves or other people or anything, it's not just happening in here. It's out there. It's in the field. So taking like deep responsibility for your contribution to the field. But I think that starts with feeling compassion for ourselves and feeling into our own loving kindness for ourselves. So this invitation today is to maybe come in hands on heart, hands on chest, taking a couple of big deep sighs. Ooh, making any kind of sounds, any kind of shakeouts that need to happen, inviting in some compassion for ourselves and compassion for ourselves and compassion for our little tiny children who are in there, the little pieces of us, the little ones of us who sometimes got messages that might not have been helpful as we were growing up, messages from the environment, from the world, from our families, from our cultures. So I'm inviting us to start to become aware of the self-talk and start to become aware of the relationships with our body parts. Like, are there parts of myself that I don't feel okay about? Are there parts of myself that are doing extra work? That was another thing that really came up. Like, where are we leaking our energy? Like in things that are maybe not helpful. So just letting us come into our breath. And I'm actually going to count us in with this coherent breathing. It's going to be an inhale for 5 and an exhale for 5. And once I've counted us in for maybe a couple of minutes, then we'll just get going. But that coherent breathing is to invite all of our systems to come into coherence with ourself, with our being on the planet, on the universe, connected to each other. If you need to lay down, if you want to move around, do whatever you need to do while I'm doing this. If your breathing is different and it needs to be, that's fine too. I'm just offering it in. So the coherent breathing, I'm going to inhale for 5 and exhale for 5. Exhale everything out to start. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just let yourself breathe. It may stay in that pattern. It may be anything else. Let's add some sound to it. So let's let some exhales out with some sound. It could be a ha or a sh. Ha. really allowing your own exploration in the sounds that come out. It doesn't have to be anything that I'm doing. So, relaxing your tongue, your neck, your throat, taking on any kind of micro movement that feels good, inviting in this adjustment, this capacity for this little tiny micro adjustment, micro movement, or maybe bigger shifts to happen to bring in more comfort, more ease, more loving kindness into your own system. So I want to add this extra sort of breath play that I like to do. And that's where we could hum. That might be comfortable because if you're humming, people can generally hum without judging their sound. Hmm. But I like to kind of do it with my mouth open and play with my nasal cavity. So like I like to kind of go in. I'm going to come in close for this so you can see and kind of go. And I'm letting out this sound, and it kind of can inside my head take on overtones, but it's also like affecting the sinuses in my skull and my cranium and offering this spaciousness into even let's say spaciousness into our thought process. And when we do that, we can feel the density of that sound. I am just getting over a cold. So you can play with it. I'm going to be in and out with that. But let's take it down to the floor. If you're not on the floor, if you have access to the floor, inviting in self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-harmony. So movement that feels delicious. My original intention with role play was going to be that we roll around on the floor to hydrate the tissue in our body, to tune into the fluid nature of our being. But as it gets going, I feel like there's so many things that we need to think about or to tune into, to become aware of. So most autoimmune and cancer, our body is attacking itself. And I just want to become aware of where are we attacking ourselves? Are there body parts that could use some reintegration, some loving kindness? Are there body parts that we need to say, you know what? I love you. You're actually pretty cool. Thank you for being there for me. Like, ah, underappreciated body parts. Yeah, so these autoimmune diseases where we're attacking our own selves and our own cells, we're inviting ourselves and ourselves to find some loving kindness and some compassion for ourselves and start to notice, are there places where that pops up in our life where we tell ourselves stories that aren't helpful, or where we talk about body parts as if they're not part of us, as if there's something separate and we should force them into something? Oh, if it was only perfect, right? If we're working towards some kind of perfection, let's just see if we can soften and let go of that. Feeling if in your body or in your reality there's some kind of striving for perfection. Maybe we can crack away some of that stuff and become a little more fluid, let ourselves spill around inside. Inviting in your participation in what feels good and interesting. So, one thing that's come up for me that I think about is resistance, right? Sometimes when we have resistance for something, sometimes there's two things. It could be protecting us, but it could also be sabotaging us. So, if you encounter resistance, is that resistance for protection? Ultimately, in some way, it's probably was trying to protect you in your life, but maybe there's some resistances we can start to let go of and go, and become curious about, right? So the inroad is curiosity and humor, especially if things are tough. Can we find something to wonder about with it? Like, it doesn't have to be answering any questions. Where are things showing up? And is there a way that I can be more gentle with myself? If I can be more gentle with my own body, with my own animal body, I can be more harmonic with the earth and the planet and with the people around me. Are there aspects of self-care that I need to be touching into? Are there aspects of self-love that I can invite in to my system, into my experience? Yeah, inflammation, leaky gut, all that stuff that could be going on when you're experiencing stress, the toxicity of stress. Not all stress is bad, but you can feel the difference. You can feel like, is this stress something that's like pushing me forward in a way that feels good, or is this something that's toxic and eating away at me? Is there anything eating away at you? That might be something to look at. And one way to deal with this, like on a bigger day-to-day scale, is to start writing down, like, oh, there's that negative attack thought. Just write it down to like set it free from your mind, put it on paper, and then let it go. You could burn it, you could save it for a year, look back at it, but start to notice when those things are coming up, or oh my God, I was so stupid. Why did I do that? Like, or oh my stomach is so disgusting, or oh, whatever it is, whatever thing you are attacking about yourself, just notice it, write it down. And when you start to notice those internal dialogues starting, you can go, you know what? You can stop that right now. I don't need this. Feel free to exit the building like Elvis, right? Don't need it. You can stop. It doesn't have to be an attack on your attacker. It just can be like a gentle, nope, no thank you. Not having that today. So we can start to think about our diet of self-talk. What are you giving yourself in that diet? What nutrition is in there? How is it nourishing you? And also coming back to this idea of resistance. Like sometimes it feels good to like push things away. Pushing and pulling, those are patterns that we learn as babies. It helps us locomote. You can also think of like that pushing and pulling can move us forward through space or back us up. So sometimes it's helpful. What is the emotional diet that you are feeding yourself? Ah. So if you've got some emotional like Doritos in there, which may at the time taste kind of good, but ultimately they make you feel shitty, you can be compassionate and go, oh, look what's happening. Don't beat yourself up for beating yourself up, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, if you notice that stuff happening, you can always come into that 5-5-5 coherent breathing. This is from the Heart Math Institute. It could also be 6-6. So it's balancing your inhale and your exhale. It's going to work with your autonomic nervous system in so many ways because now you're saying, oh, I don't need to upregulate or downregulate. I'm just fine right here in the middle. I can be in a stasis where I don't need to go down and I don't need to go up. I'm harmonized. My organs are working together. My lymphatic, my liver, my skin, my breath is detoxing in the way that I need it to. It's not to say don't have any emotions. Like sometimes we've got some anger, we've got some grief, we've got stuff that we need to work with or work through. So can we become aware of it? And are we able to work with it or is it poisoning us? Is it sticking in our cells and giving us messages that are toxic? Oh yeah. So I was listening to this woman, Keisha Ewers, in this vibrational healing summit, and I gotta say, she was pretty amazing. And she talks about like all the leaky gut stuff, which is a lot of autoimmune stuff that most people who experience any kind of symptoms of anything are probably experiencing some of that. Where within ourselves are our boundaries leaking? Where within our relationship to ourself, with our relationship to the world, are we leaking our boundaries? Yeah, there's this idea which I love. As a teacher, I find it really helpful. And that I think I learned it in some Laban class, maybe with Peggy Hackney. And it was about you can be, like, let's say you're an organism, you can be giving out, but not taking in. Like, these are the options for your boundaries. You can have it going one way. And sometimes when you're teaching, it's really helpful to just be offering the information, not taking in too much of other people's stuff. You can also be giving out and receiving at the same, like that can be this interchange. And in a weird way, energetically, when I'm teaching, I feel like I'm giving out and receiving at the same time. Maybe I'm not. You can be receiving, but not giving out. And you can also be shut, so nothing's coming out, nothing's coming in. But just thinking about these possibilities of boundaries and in your relationships, are there relationships where you just take but don't give? Are there relationships where you just give but don't take? Are there relationships, they probably won't last very long if nobody's giving or taking? And are there relationships where it's an equal boundary? And it's not to say any of these at all times we need some of these. We need to be able to do some of these things. I know that like as a teacher and somebody who is teaching in gym systems a lot, um, and at schools, sometimes at the end of a class, somebody's going to come up to you and like act like you are the queen on the pedestal and know all the answers for them and really take your time and your energy and like creating a boundary around that of being like you can respond to them and talk to them for a few minutes, but if it's going on and on, you may want to cut that off. So being able to like work with your own system when you start to feel like, oh, this is too much, or I've already given my all in class, I don't have extra to help this person right now. How do we come into that intelligence? And this could happen like for teachers, doctors, uh, therapists, but even mothers and children, like how we relate. Like there are times where it's you can give a very kind boundary of I love you very much, but right now I just need to be still and quiet, or whatever it is. Ah, hmm. Yeah, that's a big one for me to consider these boundaries. How do they work? So that I am working with kindness to myself. And sometimes it does need to be, I need nothing to come in and nothing to go out. Sometimes we really need that in closing. That can be a very important part of our healing space, being in that enclosed, I'm in my world, it's okay. Okay, so I've been talking a whole lot, and I want to have some time for just moving and processing with movement. So I'm going to share my screen and put on some Jeff Gersh ambient fields. Feel free to move as in any way that feels good. And if you're in TV land, I'm going to throw an ad right here. Now that you're all in your place, please like and subscribe and consider supporting me on Patreon. There's my ad. But now for some music. And how's the volume on that? Feel free to let me know if it's too loud or too quiet. just going to turn that down. Give us another minute of just processing within the silence of our own experience. And for the people in TV land, I was dancing with you, but I was also dancing with the people in the room. Just so, yeah. Moving together, moving from our hearts. Yeah, there's a whole contingent of humans doing this work on the planet. I've got a bunch of them in my room, which is so exciting. So I'm going to stop recording. If you would ever like to be in the room, please reach out to me. And if you have just done this class, take some time to rest.